Well, let's get into a little bit this Josh Sargent story. We all know the red hot start that he was off to in 2025 in the beginning of the regular season. I mean, the kid just seemed unstoppable the way that he was playing, and it was impressive. But I feel like it faded really quickly. It kind of flattened out as the season went along. You reading something? You got a comment on there?
Oh no, I'm just reading the stuff that I'm about to read for the Josh Sargent thing.
Oh, okay,
It's
yeah.
just I'll just read it. A couple days ago, it was said that he is training with the Norwich U21s and won't play this weekend, meaning this past weekend. Sargent only wants Toronto. Norwich says not for sale, but talks are continuing with Toronto. Sargent just welcomed his third child. Family wants to go back to North America. Then last night, again, same source saying, after a heated meeting with Norwich City sporting director Ben Napper and head coach Philip Clement, it appears that Josh Sargent has played his last game for the club. Sargent was seen visibly upset. One source says there was a comment made regarding his family, which was the last straw. He continues to train with the second team as he pushes for transfer to Toronto City, or Toronto FC, excuse me. Toronto and Norwich are continuing negotiations. But yeah, I think it's just a spell ran its course, and he's just going to come back to the MLS at some point. And it's just going to be a matter of time, not an if, but it is a when. And Josh Sargent, feel for him a little bit because I think anybody in the world, at least anyone with a brain, if you mentioned his family, I'm sure that was probably in discussions. I'm sure that was, he probably told the higher ups, you know what, I just had my third child, I want to go back and do that because it has been documented well that he didn't like being in Germany with Werder Bremen. He didn't like living in Germany. He wanted to be, I think, a little bit more with the English language, I guess, if that makes sense. And clearly he wants to put his family maybe a little bit closer to his family and continue to – I mean, he's going to come in the MLS at some point. He's going to dominate, and he's going to be a bigger fish in a smaller pond. And I think he's going to do well with Toronto FC if he ultimately gets there. But whenever he comes to the MLS, he's going to do really good. But, yeah, I think it's just ran its course at this point. He's got to come back.
Well, it definitely ran its course, and I think we understood that he was on his way back. 56 goals in 156 games with Norwich City for Josh Sargent. Again, that's the body of work for him to begin this year. Again, there was a week or two there where we were having discussions about, hey, is Josh Sargent becoming our best option in terms of an attacker? Now, obviously, that's since gone away. Now we're talking about Flo Balogun, Alex Sendejas. Obviously, Brendan Aronson is in the mix there. But is no longer really in those conversations. But as you mentioned, still just 25 years old, right? Has 3 kids, has a wife. So everything you do at that point, not everything, but I'm sure the biggest thing on his mind is like, how do I make my family more comfortable? But Ryan, can we just admit that there was probably something said along the lines of there was probably something extremely disrespectful said about it, not only just his family and probably how his family is affecting his play, and they're the reason why he's making this move, but also something disrespectful along the lines of Major League Soccer and coming back to the United States to play.
Yeah, we've talked
Right?
about the bias.
There's only one reason why someone would have such a visceral reaction to a meeting with front office representatives like that when all he did was come in there and go, hey, listen, guys, my priorities have changed. Okay, my family needs me now. They need me to be stateside, even if that's in Canada. I mean, you're right up the road. They need me to be back in North America so that I can be able to actually be a better dad and be there and be more consistent and do the things that I need to do as a father. Because not every U.S. men's national team player is either, number one, married or has kids. And your versatility and your ability to go all over the place is a lot better when you don't have children or a family to worry about. You talk to me about that.
Just
I'm
talk to
almost 30. I
Mendoza.
know people that, yeah, exactly.
I don't
I
have
mean,
time
I
for a
have,
girl.
right. I have friends that are married and expecting kids, and like, hey, man, they do what they do on the local level, but it's not like they can just drop everything and move somewhere tomorrow because they simply don't have the flexibility to do so. And I'm not justifying Josh Sargent's decision. I think it's a great decision, especially if you're getting offered $18 million from Toronto FC. Absolutely, I would make that move. But
Well, that's just the
again,
transfer fee. I don't know how much you'd be
well,
making.
yeah,
I don't know how much
well,
you'd be making a
okay.
week.
That's true. But I mean, I'm assuming they'll probably give him a pretty lump sum. But either way, I think we can fill in the gaps ourselves confidently and know that there was disrespect shown on two levels. Not only as family, but also something I'm sure very disrespectful about playing in North America or playing in the United States. Canada, I just kind of loop into that group, right? Because there's a few candidate teams, but the majority of the league in Major League Soccer is in the United States. I don't need to be in that room. I don't need to be in that circle. I don't need to be in that meeting. I don't need to be a fly on the wall or have a camera or a microphone attached to it in the room to know that there was a level of disrespect shown for a player who was simply willing to look out for his family and return back to the United States. And again, if you want to keep playing around with there's no disrespect, hey man, that's fine. If you want to keep lying to yourself, that's okay. But here's another glaring example of that. Right? And no one goes in with the intentions of saying these things like I need to look out for my family, expecting on the other end to be so enraged that they just simply walk out of the meeting. So I don't know what was said. And my guess is we're not going to find out from Norwich exactly what was said, but if you're making a player that mad, yeah. My guess is that it probably was something along the lines of dumb American, you did this to yourself.
I also think his form, as of recently, has probably
It's not been
affected
great.
him as well. I mean,
Yeah. It's
you,
true.
you think of the start that he had. We talked about it. Is he potentially in the running to be a starting striker for us? And people 100% thought that, and I think myself
Yeah.
included said that. Like you're a starting striker and doing it well in the championship in a league that is highly regarded in terms of the world scale, but ever since then, he's really started to struggle a little bit. And I think also that has maybe hurt his play. Like if you think about it, if the family weighed so much in this decision to go back to the MLS, or never back to the MLS, but back to North America, you got to think that some of that has affected his play currently right now with Norwich City. That, oh, I just had this kid, I really need to get back. So maybe his head is not all the way in the game that you would like, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that has played a little bit of a factor.
Well, let's face it. I mean, if you don't like the place that you're living, if you don't like the place that you're living in, if you don't like your surroundings, if you don't like, much like a college player, if you don't like the campus that you're on, if you don't like those things, well, then obviously you're not going to want to stick around. There's no extra incentive for him to stick around in that situation. And I think that the family stuff, all the other pressures in terms of what he thinks I need to do as a professional probably affects his play on the field at the same exact time. All of that completely makes sense. Again, we're listing reasons as to why he's making this move, and I understand it. And frankly, I think he's going to be a far more popular player that is in an American league. And it's a chance, obviously, for him to revamp his career. Now, does Josh Sargent go back overseas? We don't see that a whole lot. And we've talked about that, right? When they come to the MLS, you don't normally see the move from Europe to Major League Soccer back to Europe. That's not something you see a whole lot. So for Josh Sargent, I think the realization that, hey, this might be like a permanent career decision is probably weighing on his mind a lot. And so that's the part that, again, this is a family decision. So if Norwich took that opportunity to kind of disrespect him and go, well, you're making the biggest mistake of your life. Your family is the reason why you're never going to be back here. Whatever it is that they felt like they wanted to say, again, because they think they can talk to Americans however they see fit, especially American soccer players.